Hello, welcome to the Citrus Garden. If you're new here, my name is Christina. If you're not new here, hi, welcome back. It's good to see you. This is a reading for Virgo moons, or if you have significant Virgo placements and are needing a feminine energy to work with or balance within yourself, then this reading is for you. So Virgo, your reading today is really interesting. I know I say that about like literally all the readings, but I think it's very true today. So we're going to start off here with the overall context of your reading with these two cards. So the insects and the mortification card, which is really interesting. So in this insects card in the guidebook for this deck, one thing that stuck out to me was the author mentioned worms as part of this card, right? Which is obviously very visible in this mortification card, but worms are not actually insects because they don't have like an exoskeleton, so or like limbs, like they don't have any legs. So there's something here about, but that's significant with the worms, that I feel like right now your energy is sort of in this sort of like almost like with the mortification card, it brings in sort of the energy of compost, right? Things that are kind of uncomfortable, or there's like a muddiness to it, but it's laying the groundwork for something very significant is kind of how this is feeling, right? There's something very humbling about this energy with the insects, right? Because it's kind of like there's something like uncomfortable, but it's relatively small, right? Like insects are very small creatures, but they have such a profound impact when we encounter one, right? It's like, especially if it's worms, there's like an uncomfortable kind of like a decomposing kind of element here where there's something is there's absolutely something changing for you. You have this crossroads card coming out next. So I feel like there's a really significant transition, especially because you have here like a lot of planet cards. So that with the crossroads, we have Mercury and Pluto. So Mercury is the planet that rules Virgo, which is your sign. And then the Pluto card, which is all of this sort of like the recycling or the composting, or like things that are no longer working are being cleared out, right? And through that clearing out, it's providing sort of the soil or the groundwork for whatever is coming next. But that process might be a bit uncomfortable is kind of how this is feeling. And then you have here the Jupiter and the spring. So Jupiter talks about expansion, right? Something successful, but also takes sort of a long time, or it's more of a long-term kind of energy. With the spring, it's just, oh, sorry, that's summer. Interesting, that's summer. So it may be by summer, something might be really significant, because in like something might be coming full bloom by summertime is kind of how that's feeling, because there's a lot of energy as well in the extended portion, which I'll just mention here briefly. It's like you have a lot of Mars and spring energy, right? Like the equinox might be really important, which is next week. And also I think next week, or like maybe in a couple weeks or something like that, Mars is moving into Cancer. So there may be like a very significant shift happening for you next week, but it's kind of like you're feeling the effects of it right now, or like the beginnings of it right now. And that might be a bit uncomfortable is kind of how this is feeling. Especially with these cards here, because you have here the Nine of Swords. So this one to me is talking about the fact that, so it could be causing anxiety a little bit, but it was more so feeling like this Queen of Swords, there's a lot of noise, right? Your external environment, the energy of your external environment feels very maybe chaotic or just like frustrating. There's just like a lot of energy in your external environment that is affecting you, right? But it's like you're moving towards something positive, right? It's like so there's something in your external environment that is coming to an end, and because of that, it's stirring up a lot of like the worms, right? Things that are uncomfortable, which is laying the groundwork for some really positive thing to come in, is how this is feeling. So it's a lot. Let's get into the actual reading. But also, just before we get started, there was this whole energy before, like when I was just sitting here, like before I pulled the cards, of delayed gratification. So I feel like, Virgo, there's something that you are really focused on. It kind of feels like you've been, and it feels like you've been working towards it for a really long time. So it's like you have a clear goal in mind. It was coming through to me. It was coming through to me as like a bowl of marshmallows. Like if you've seen those delayed gratification videos with like children, how like their parents put something in front of them, like a bowl of candy. In this case, it was coming through as a bowl of marshmallows, whatever that signifies to you. And then the parents say, you can have this now, or if you're willing to wait a little bit, I'm going to leave the room. When I come back, you can have twice the amount, right? It's that kind of energy. So it feels like, Virgo, it's like there's something sitting in front of you, right? It's very close. You can almost taste it, but it's like you're being asked to wait, because when the timing is right? Like when something else happens, right? Like there's some sort of delay that you're being asked to endure, because when timing is right, the reward will be twice as sweet, or something like that. So that's just like the overall context of your reading. So we're starting off here with the smoke and the silver card, which is really interesting. So if we start off with the smoke, first of all, your reading feels like it is somehow tied to the Taurus sun reading that I did yesterday. So if you haven't watched it, I'll link it above. It doesn't have to be though, but it kind of feels like almost like a peripheral thing, right? With the smoke, because fire was a huge theme in that reading. So it feels like there's something external to you, right? Something happening, like a situation or something that is not directly related to you and what you're focused on, but because of what's happening over there in the external environment, it's affecting perhaps your ability to focus, right? It's causing this energy within you, even though it's not really directly related to you in some way. It's happening to somebody else. For example, maybe there's like a significant Taurus in your life, but anyways, it's kind of like, it might be just like adding a little bit of burden here, because you have the Knight of Swords, which to me is talking about like moving forward with a lot of clear purpose, which I feel like you're doing, Virgo, right? You have a very clear purpose or direction or momentum towards something, but it's almost like whatever this smoke is, right? This external event is what I'm calling it, or external situation that's happening to somebody else, perhaps someone significant to you. It's adding a lot of burden, is kind of how this is feeling. Okay, and you're coming out here with the Four of Cups, which is talking about, I feel like, Virgo, this is the energy of like the bowl of marshmallows, right? Where it's like you're focused on it. You're focused on this goal of yours, right? Something that you're perhaps trying to manifest, or some sort of like, perhaps like a gift or an offer, or just some sort of like blessing, something that you want is sitting right in front of you, but it's like you can't go towards it because it's almost like you have to wait until this thing is over, right? It kind of feels like, so it could be tied to that person, right? It could be something like that person or that energy, someone or something external to you is going through this Ten of Burdens energy, right? Like if you want to watch the Taurus reading, it might provide insight into what's happening on the other side, but it's kind of like they're going through something, and it's like you have to wait for them to come back into the room in order for the bounty is what I just heard. And I feel like there's, I'm not sure if maybe you're not aware of that. Perhaps you are, but it's kind of just like there's this feeling of like dissatisfaction, or perhaps like could even be like frustration, or just like just the energy of like having to wait when it's kind of like you're ready to go is kind of how that's feeling. But I feel like I feel like there's this almost like something else. There's this really interesting energy here because that it's almost like something like it's wanting to shift gears. That's what this pause is. It's like this pause here, what you are in right now, perhaps, right? This delay is perhaps wanting to reveal something to you, because it's kind of feeling like you have here the music and the fissures, which is really interesting. Because I feel like there's something here about the music, right? This card came out yesterday in Taurus's reading as well, which I feel like is like something like today was coming through, like, especially if there's music without words, right? It's something that you feel very, very much as like an experience in your body or your emotions, right? So it's something like, it's a type of language as well that you may be feeling some, I don't know, perhaps sensations within your body or just in your experience that perhaps you don't know where it's coming from, or like where, like how it's directly impacting you, but it's coming from something or someone that you're connected to at a distance that's having an impact on your work or your whatever it is kind of how that's feeling. And it's wanting you to take a look at that, right? Like to break it down, because it kind of feels like they're with the breaking down, right? There's something, I want to say, because there's something very significant changing, right? In your external environment that has an impact on you. Things in your life are being broken down, right? There's something uncomfortable about this fissures energy, especially with this, the dreams card is coming out next. So it could be something like, it could be, especially with all the, like the dirt and the root system and the dreams, it feels kind of like perhaps something in your subconscious, right? Anyways, it's coming through with this really interesting energy here where, with the silver, because I feel like it's actually what this subconscious energy is, what you're being asked to look at in your subconscious perhaps, is something to do with the silver and this Five of Swords. So Five of Swords also came out yesterday, but how it's coming through with you today, especially with this great work. So the silver card, something that requires polishing, right? So I feel like there may be something in your subconscious, or perhaps like a belief of yours or something like that, that requires a little bit of polishing, right? Just to clear off the tarnish a little bit. And because of the great work and this Five of Swords, it was kind of coming through as like this past situation where, because this great work was looking like a podium, right? Especially with the silver, the gold in the middle, silver and bronze. So I feel like there was a situation in your past, right, that is now part of your subconscious where perhaps, Virgo, you got second place or something like that, right? Like you were overlooked or you didn't win gold. Whatever that means, however that applies to you in your past, where it was like you were defeated maybe. There was some sort of defeat. If there was, I don't know, it could have to do with competition, but it doesn't have to be. It could just be something like just more general, where perhaps you've always felt like second to somebody else or to something else or whatever that is, with the silver. But I feel like very strongly that has had a very positive impact actually on you and who you are and your work, because the great work talks about something that requires a lot of attention and devotion and like dedication as well, right? Something that's ongoing, because you also have here the sun splendor. So it's kind of like whatever this defeat was in the past, right? Some sort of subconscious like belief or patterning of yours maybe, where it's like you're used to coming in second maybe, like to being second to somebody else or something else, or being like not the best maybe. I don't know, something like that. That actually encourage you to work harder, right? It could also be something like if you there are these like studies shown with like sort of like sports competitions and things like that, where if you sort of look at the expressions of the people on the podium, right? If you compare, obviously the person who wins gold is very happy about that, right? But if you compare the expressions on the people who've won silver and bronze, the person who won bronze always looks much happier than someone who won silver, because I guess like the implication for someone who wins silver is that they were so close. They were so close to the gold, but they lost the gold, right? There's an element of loss in that. Even though you were second best, right? There's still an element of loss. But with the bronze, it's kind of like they're just happy to be on the podium, right? They made it to the podium. So there's something here about like perhaps there was a past event where you found success, right? It's like you found success, but because it wasn't the best or it wasn't the gold, there was disappointment associated with that. And I feel like perhaps that, I actually feel like that helped you, because it's kind of bringing in the energy of like having to polish, having to work at something, putting in the elbow grease, so to speak. It's like that event or the past defeat helped you to put in the elbow grease or like put in the work, the dedication, in order to now find success, because you have the sun splendor coming out, right? Which is all of this some long-term abundance. That's what this card talks about. Something that is built over time. It talks about generosity and kindness, health as well, like just like a radiance or like a very positive sort of unfolding, right? It's being connected to the warmth of the sun is kind of how this is feeling. And it's also coming out here with the six of wands and the 4 of wands, right? Finding success and stability because of a past defeat, right? Because that winning silver, right, forced you to work harder at something is kind of how this is feeling. And it's because next you have here the blue vault, so which I love so much, because that's that silver energy, right? But it's also talking about, like, if you imagine, like, the vastness of the sea or the vastness of the sky, right? Something that's almost, like, infinite, right? I feel like you were in this space, or perhaps you're in this space now, where it's kind of, like, it's bringing in all this energy of, like, blueprints, right? Like making plans. It's a very much, like, a planning or strategizing, or like putting in the work, right? Like doing the work, like it's just doing the work. I feel like that's what this is talking about, that the work is a continual process. But what I love about these two cards today, because if you just look at like this, right? Like the 5 energies here surrounding the one thing, because I feel like Virgo, for you, it's like you're reaching some, I feel there's so much here. I feel like here you are approaching some sort of horizon, right? Like you're at this very significant crossroads where something that you've put in a lot of work towards is coming full bloom, right? It's all of this, like your plans have aligned beautifully with something that's coming into your very physical life. That's with the sun splendor, right? If you just notice, right? It's like, these are the blueprints that you made. This is the actual physical structure that's coming in, and it's so beautiful. Like it exceeds all of your expectations. Also, there's like that gold sort of sun there, but more importantly, just to sort of step away from that sort of competition, kind of like the podium energy, like winning first, that kind of thing. I feel like what is more important for you here, Virgo, what it is that you've discovered is that it's kind of like it's very cliche and corny, but I'm totally fine with that, which is like the best prize is not standing on top of the podium. It's actually like the work, right? The work, the doing the thing, right? It's the attention and the devotion and the success that comes from all of that hard work that you've put in. It actually has nothing to do with the podium or like winning the competition or whatever it is. It has nothing to do with that. The actual like success and fulfillment comes from the everyday work of it, is kind of how this is feeling, which is a really lovely energy, because I feel like there's something here, because that's what these two cards are talking about, right? The Hanged Man and the Hierophant, which is also all of this sort of like seeing something from a different perspective, but also finding like immense peace and contentment from whatever this work is, the thing that you've been putting so much effort into, or all of that. It's like it's not about the prize at all, or perhaps recognition. Of course that feels great, right? That feels wonderful, but the true gift, I feel like, for you is the peace that it brings you, right? The contentment, satisfaction that it brings you, rather than the outer recognition that you may receive from this. I feel like it kind of feels like that's a natural sort of result of that, right? Like it's, because what's interesting here is this. You have here, the next card here, the Elixirs, which is really interesting because it's kind of feeling like, the Elixirs and the King of Wands, which I feel like is that external energy, right? There's something changing in your external environment, and it could be like the arrival of this King of Wands that's stirring up a lot of energy as well. So I kind of feel like there's perhaps somebody approaching, is kind of how this is feeling, right? With the Elixir, where this Elixir card comes in with the energy of like a quick fix or something like that. So it could be that they're offering you something. Maybe. Like they're offering you something, or like, I want to say that actually that they're giving you some sort of perhaps like recognition, or with the Three of Cups, the thing that you didn't win the first time around, right? Like they're giving you something that it's something that perhaps you wanted at first, right? It's that gold medal that you wanted before. And it's like they're coming in now, almost because like you don't need it, right? It's they're coming in with the gold medal now, but it's almost like you don't even need it anymore. It's kind of how that's feeling. I don't know, but maybe you do. I don't know. I was kind of confused about these cards, because the next card out was the Geometry, right? Which to me talks about alignment, that there's patterns happening, especially with this sort of energy of 5 coming in, which to me always talks about like, if there's a significant transition on the way for you, which there is absolutely, you're at a significant transition point, the energy of 5 comes in to sort of help you make that transition, is kind of how this is feeling. So it could be that they are coming in with that. They're helping to sort of make help you make some sort of transition, because it's in alignment. I want to say though, it's like, make sure that it is in alignment. That's what this thing is talking about. Because it's kind of like, there's something here about, if we go back to that bowl of marshmallows, right? It's almost like you've been waiting for this bowl of marshmallows, right? But then someone else comes in, whoever this King of Wands is, where it's like they offer you something else, right? It's almost like they're offering you like some other candy or something like that, for example. But it's like, is that what you really want, is the question, because here you have here the 5 of Cups, right? Which, if we just bring this back to the 4 of Cups, right? This is sort of that disappointment. You didn't get that gold medal that you wanted. But now it's like it's here with the 3 cups in the background. They're offering you something. You can have this now, right? But it's kind of like, it kind of feels like to me, Virgo, that you're almost like turning your back to it, or saying like, Actually, I'm good. That's what this card looks like with the Two of Cups, right? It kind of looks like you're saying, I'm content with this. I don't know. And I feel like that's kind of bringing in this energy of like, perhaps that's something that's wanting to be cleared, because I don't know necessarily, I can't see necessarily if there's something here about, is this in alignment or not? Because I feel like that'll depend on you and where you are sort of in your growth or whatever it is. Because it kind of feels like you've been putting in a lot of work towards this. And it could be, because it's coming through here at the Two of Wands and the Judgment, that it's actually like something that's in alignment, but perhaps you're not, perhaps because... So the reason why that Silver card is significant is that I feel like there's something here where in your subconscious, right, that may be telling you not to take this opportunity or not to say yes to it. Because it's kind of feeling like you got used to being second, right? You got used to being second. You got used to putting in a lot of hard work, doing a lot of things independently. And so it's kind of like when someone comes in to offer you gold, you're almost just like, no, thank you. Which I don't know, that might be in alignment with you. But I want to say that if this opportunity, if this offer is coming in very positively, right? Like it feels like it's in alignment. It's just kind of like because you're used to putting in a lot of hard work to get your goals, this almost feels too easy, and you might be suspicious of that. That's what kind of how that's feeling, right? There almost might be like a rejection of this offer because it's too easy. So that might be something to take a look at, because I actually do feel that this offer might be very positive for you, right? It might be like a very significant expansion, but it's like, I feel like there's this energy, the Five of Cups, right? Where you're almost like letting it go because you're too perhaps focused on doing something by yourself, or I don't know, maybe something like that. This Five of Cups energy is not, I'm not going to say it's a negative energy. It just feels like a rejection energy. So it kind of feels like you're rejecting the offer, or that's sort of what your initial response might be, is to reject it, to say no to it. But I want to say that if you're willing to sort of shift your perspective a little bit in terms of like the silver and gold, right? They're offering you the gold, which I want to say that you don't need, right? That's important. You don't need that, but like you can absolutely accomplish your goal without that. But there may be something like surprising in like accepting that, because it's trying to clear out some sort of subconscious thing about your patterns that is telling you that you don't deserve gold. Okay, I'm gonna end it there, Virgo. I hope that was helpful. I'm gonna go to the extended. If you're interested in that, link is in the description box below. I've also opened up a website if you're interested in personal readings. You can also find that below. All the decks that I'm using, check the description box. If this message resonated with you, please consider subscribing, liking, or leaving a comment. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with me, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great day.